You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey B&B fans, it's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we're seeing Hope Logan fall apart before our very eyes as she begins to realize just how much she lost when she let Thomas Forrester walk out of her life. And Steffy Forrester is really enjoying her pain. That's what it looks like to me. I want to talk about what Hope's going to do next and how she might get payback on her former stepsister. But before we dive into this messy, soapy mess, please click subscribe if you haven't already. So on the recent episode of Bold, we saw Douglas Forrester dropping some hard truth bombs on his adoptive mother. Some I thought were fair, and some I thought maybe were things he shouldn't know or be talking about. I'm still trying to decide how I feel about Thomas Forrester telling Douglas that Hope rejected his proposal. I mean, I guess it depends on the context. For instance, if Thomas told Douglas he was planning to propose because he was so excited and told their son about his plans, about how he'd made her a new dress, and just stuff like that because he was, excited it was happening, then yeah, Douglas would be expecting an update and to hear the answer that Hope gave. In that context, yeah, I think it's acceptable for Thomas to tell him Hope said no. But if Thomas just decided to talk about grown-up things with Douglas, then I don't know. But in the end, Thomas was honest with his son. That's all he was. I don't like when people talk to kids about things that are grown-up matters, but he did have to explain why he wasn't going to be around. He just didn't have to tell about the proposal because that seemed to hit Douglas really hard. But no matter what, that's what we're dealing with now. I thought it was very interesting and actually a good thing that Douglas told Hope that Caroline Spencer was the mother who gave birth to him. I thought it was good that he knows that. That means people are keeping her memories alive, and good that he understands birth mother versus adoptive mother. I thought that was all very interesting, but I know it hurt Hope. And when he started the "why aren't we good enough for you," I have to be honest, I kind of teared up a little. That kid, Henry Samiri, is such a good little actor. He's not overly precocious. I'm not a big fan of precocious kid characters. He's not overly precocious. I think he's just the right amount, and I just adore him. So I could totally see that that's how Douglas sees it, because he thinks he and his dad are a package deal. And if she turned down Thomas's proposal, then in a way, she's turning down Douglas too, and the idea of them being a forever family, even after divorce, you're still family, but still, to a kid that age, I understand that. I also saw Douglas's argument of why he wanted to go with Thomas to Paris, because his dad is heartbroken and he needs him. And I think he thinks that Thomas needs him more than Hope, because in his mind, everybody is seeing Hope as the heartbreaker and not the heartbroken. But I think all of them are broken right now, Thomas and Hope and Douglas. And I have to wonder how this whole thing would have gone differently if Steffy Forrester had not interfered and used this failed proposal to push her brother as far away from Hope as she can. I mean, if not for Steffy, I don't think Thomas would have left town. He probably would have gone home like he did, cried for a couple of days, had a beer, pulled up his big boy pants and gone back to work, even if he wasn't working on her line. And if he stayed in LA, of course, Hope could have stopped by the house to explain herself, plead her case, and work towards that reunion. So even after he walked out on her in the showroom, Hope was optimistic that they could get past this. And I think she was right. And I think that's exactly what Steffy was afraid of, that Hope would and could talk her way back into Thomas's life, possibly setting him up for an even bigger heartbreak, because as far as Steffy's concerned, Hope was never going to commit to him and never love him the way he loved her. And it was always going to be an imbalance. And she may have been right about that. So Steffy pounced. She pounced when she had the chance, but I also see why she did it. I mean, Steffy truly thinks she's protecting her brother and his mental health, but this is a messy mess. And I feel like some payback could be coming Steffy's way, and in a way maybe she didn't expect. But first, I want to talk about exactly what Hope lost, because she really lost almost everything in her life with one little no to that proposal. And just to be clear, I think Hope had the absolute right to refuse that proposal. But I also feel like it was kind of her fault that Thomas felt comfortable enough to propose again, because she kept giving him false hope and mixed signals. She accepted the ring. She should have never accepted it. She put it around her neck, and past that, she was always touching it, playing with it, waving it around in front of Thomas and talking about how she likes to keep it close to her heart. You know, in hindsight, to me, it feels like a bit of a tease, and like she was giving him a lot of what turned out to be false hope. And I think that's why he went ahead and proposed again. But right now, Hope still got the ring, although she flung it across the room in a fit of rage and grief. But that and Beth and, you know, her mom and stuff are what she has left right now. Thomas quit Hope for the future, so she has no lead designer. And when she tried to replace him before, remember, the line almost collapsed with the designs of Zende and Eric. Maybe anointed one RJ Forrester can design for Hope for the future, but let's be real, he's a glorified sketch artist. He cannot take Thomas's place, no matter what BS that everybody spews about him being this amazing design prodigy. In addition to Hope's line being at risk without Thomas, there's so much more to it. She's lost her partner that she loves, who is there for her in and out of the bedroom, and who's been helping raise their son and her daughter Beth. According to both her and Thomas, they've been acting as a family, and she treasures that. But as Thomas said, not enough to make a commitment to him and Douglas. Or actually, that was Douglas that said it that way. Anyway, that's the other thing that Hope's lost is Douglas. He flat out told her he's going with his dad, and she basically had to let him go. And boy, Brooke wasn't happy when Thomas said he was taking Douglas to Paris, and she told him he couldn't, and then he did. Hope and Douglas had that big sad hug, and then he walked out. And once Douglas left, everything seemed to just kind of collapse on Hope. We've been watching this unfurl for like more than a week now, but it's all been the same day because they're all in the same outfits. You know, Hope changed in and out of the fancy dress, but otherwise they've all been in the same outfits. So all of this, if you were thinking about it in real time, was one very painful day for their family. So we saw Hope screaming in emotional agony. I thought Annika Noelle killed those scenes. I thought she was so good, and it just seemed so genuine. And then once Hope regained a little bit of her composure, that's when Steffy came in and salted the wound. And before this week was done, things definitely get volatile and violent between them. Steffy tells her Thomas and Douglas are gone, left for Paris, out of her life for good. And this conversation turns into something very different. Hope goes to slap her, but Steffy is the queen of slaps, and she catches her hand and tells her, don't even try it. However, I think Hope is going to look for payback in an unusual way, even if she doesn't get to slap Steffy for what she thinks that she shouldn't have done. Real quick, though, before I talk about the payback that Hope might chase, I want to say that her anguish and how she broke down and, you know, screamed and threw the ring and was just like kind of collapsing in on herself, that reminded me so much of those visceral scenes when Liam walked out on pregnant Steffy. Remember, she was down on the sidewalk crying, clutching at his legs, screaming and begging him not to go. I thought it was as good as that, and it reminded me a lot of it. It was really powerful work. But I think payback on Steffy is going to come in the form of Hope winning back Thomas, because Steffy doesn't want them together. And so Hope is kind of going to be like, well, screw you. You're not going to get what you want. She's got the ring, and the ball is in Hope's court. I'm expecting, as I've told you guys here, a May sweeps reunion. But more than that, after watching these scenes, I kind of expect Hope to propose to Thomas. Maybe follow him to Paris in a few weeks, because we're about a week out from sweeps. I mean, a month. We're about a month out from sweeps. So it could just be, you know, they focus on other stuff and then circle back around to that. They might even come back from Paris married. Can you imagine if it went that way and Hope came back as Thomas's wife. That would be the ultimate payback on Steffy as her sister-in-law, so we'll see how it goes. All right, please click subscribe if you haven't and drop your comments on how you think Hope is going to handle all this loss and how she's going to get some revenge on Steffy. Be sure to come back tomorrow for full Bold and the Beautiful weekly spoilers and every day, because we're talking B&B 7 days a week right here on your top soap opera spoilers channel, the #1 channel on YouTube. And as always, it is Belinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.